And, I thought there was a lot of Washington last night compared to the first week. Yeah. I think it helped that the Giants were on a bye. So the Giants basically didn't exist in this week's Hard Knocks. They kind of opened it and then we're done. Mm-hmm. It was cool to hear the Junkies on there. By far the highlight of the Hard Knocks, I thought, because we have heard about, and I believe, I'm trying to remember, somebody wrote a really good in-depth story. Maybe it was Nikki in The Athletic. I don't know. So whoever wrote that story, I'd love to credit you. If someone knows, maybe in the YouTube chat, let me know. About these really early morning walkthroughs Jaden does with Cliff and the coaching staff. It was very.
They all discuss it,
right?
Even the coaches have discussed it, and Jaden discussed it.
Right. It's not like a secret, but we've never seen it. You know what I mean? Because it's happening at 4:30 in the morning or whatever. Yeah. So it was very cool to see that on Hard Knocks. Did you notice the the headsets they were wearing?
Yeah.
I'm curious about those. If that's is that just like a Beats by Dre headset that they're all on like a shared call? Or is that like some specific equipment for that? I don't know.
I don't have a clue.
It was just kind of that I really enjoyed. That was like a cool behind the scenes look at something. And that's what Hard Knocks does so well. But, and I don't know this, Brian, because Hard Knocks is trying to form, they're trying to build a narrative to tell the story week to week.
Totally.
And my thought is Hard Knocks thought the story this week would be Jaden's return. So there was plenty of that for the Minnesota game. But they clearly also scheduled, because they had sit-down one-on-one interviews with Ertz. Mm-hmm. And knowing Ertz got hurt in that game, and Jaden, but Jaden's injury is not the story of that game. That he had to come out, and we got to discuss will he, won't he again, and just this year continues to be extremely uneven for Jaden, whatever. That, of course, is a story. But the amount of coverage in the Hard Knocks episode on Zach Ertz, and then him talking about, I'm older now. I don't know how many more years I have. I don't think about that. I just focus week to week on being the best I can be. Mm-hmm. And then the focus on the work he puts in. You know what I mean? The weight of seeing all this Ertz content combined with knowing that injury is coming. And then the footage they had of Zach getting hurt. Mm-hmm. We all saw it in real time. The hit was significant.
Yeah.
And then we all saw Zach need help to the sideline and get carted off. But when you have the mic, when you're able to hear it all and watch it up close like that, gosh, that was a raw, emotional scene, man.
Yeah, it was all that. I think the whole thing, Zach had moved up the ranks the week before.
With Shannon Sharp.
That's why I believe that they did so much sit down with him. I don't think, they went back and changed up stuff, but I think that they were planning to put a spotlight on him anyway, and just having that all those things, and then you see what happened. Because he was talking about, I don't know when how long I'm gonna play this thing, and then bam, it's done. But I think that's the mindset. That's exactly what football is, though. It can end like that, bang. And that is why when you see people trying to get their money and this, that, and the other, and you hear all the people saying stuff, that's why I have the mindset of a one-finger salute. Look, that is what can happen. And the people that's putting their mind and their bodies into that type of stuff, get what you can while you can. My mindset goes to that type of stuff. Because, you hear, we own all types of chats and different things, and you see the comments, and then you see the reality. You know what I'm saying? So whenever a person is out there trying to get it, I'm with you. Go get as much as you can.
Totally.
Because it can, the little saying is, it can all end in a second. And you don't really think that can happen, but that's exactly what can happen.
Yeah, it did. It sure did. And I don't know. Ertz has been really, really good for this team. I think he's probably a Hall of Famer when you get to whenever his career's over and he's eligible 5-6 years later. I don't think he's a first ballot guy, but I think he's a Hall of Famer probably. The numbers would suggest he is. I think that was really tough to watch in that episode. I did really like, and it's a coach I've talked about a bunch, and I think if Cliff gets a head coaching job, I think this coach will be gone, unfortunately for Washington. But I thought you got to see a lot of David Rye last night, who's the Commanders' tight ends coach. Mm-hmm. And clearly there was like the angle of Ertz and everything. He's just been an impressive, young coach to me. That kind of stood out to me. It was also like seeing the locker room and Dan Quinn seemed legit disgusted after that game. And honestly, he had the same vibe.
Hell, he should be.
By the time he came and talked to us. Yeah.
When you look at that game, I don't think that's odd. Hell, that game was despicable. Anybody involved should be pissed off.
Right.
If you're not pissed off after that game and you're a part of it, then you have an unrealistic mindset.
Agree with that. And I think DQ made that clear. I thought he had a pretty clear, angry tone when he spoke with us. Now, he tries to keep his cool, and he's not going to come in and yell at the media. Like you don't gain anything by doing that unless it's like a performative thing.
If it's what you feel at a certain time, you let it fly.
Sure.
But if the coaches that have come around and try to be that.
Totally.
Put on a show. And I think media can see through it just like players see through that BS.
Yeah.
I've seen coaches come in, have never yelled in their lives, and then all of a sudden now they want to try to show up because some people are there. And I'm like, you serious?
Right.
I went to a coach office and I told him straight up, I said, yo, bro, don't try to become somebody else when you got people around because people see through that BS.
Agreed.
Straight up.
Overall,
you could probably imagine who that was.
I would love to know how many times – I don't know how many times they've done this, like the whole division is on Hard Knocks. But
did they just do that once so far? Last year, I think.
Did they do it last year?
They did it with the Bills and some other groups.
Maybe the AFC East?
I thought it was that.
I know they did the Dolphins – I guess that was 2 years ago when the Dolphins played the football team – Ron's last year when Tyreek went 3 for 180 and 2 touchdowns. And Van Ginkel had an interception at the line of scrimmage for a pick six. Yeah. Other just little things I noticed in Hard Knocks. Think about this. They got a whole division. They got the NFC East. One of the teams was on a bye, and all 3 teams lost.
Yeah.
And, various degrees of bad losses.
Yep. It was.
I can't imagine – HBO or NFL Films, whoever is actually in charge of that, was thrilled with the way that all shook out. But
you know what though, Jay? I don't think they were upset because the fact that they're telling these stories and things of that nature, I say that the only reality TV we truly have is sports. Okay? Reality TV is produced. It's not real. It don't just happen and they show you what they see. Or they tell people, oh, let's do that scene again. Once you do that, that's not reality TV. So sports is the reality of it's real. And when the fact that all of them lost, how real is that? You go into a game, you're expecting this, that, and that to happen, and then boom, everybody lose. And how do you tell a story? You just show what went down.
Right.
And I think that's the thing where, if you really what Hard Knocks shows is everybody's putting in work. Sometimes you get to that game, and no matter what happens, all the stuff you did just does not happen for you on the field that day.
So Lauren watched about half of it with me and then went to bed. And she liked when Devontae Smith was doing Pilates. She does a lot of Pilates. I've always heard you talk about, you would go to the Gold's Gym or whatever to do the deadlifts you wanted because you liked their things. I don't think – it was cool in that moment to see. I don't think people – recognize all the effort, even outside of the dedicated practice time, lifting time that these guys are going through.
If players think something works, they're going to try it. You go back into the day, Lynn Swann took ballet.
Right.
Hell, Ray Brown, 6'5", 320. He was taking Pilates.
Was
he? Ray can go a split straight out to the side and split straight forward. And that's the big-ass offensive lineman. So people go through all types of things to get to that point. But you know what? You got to be looking for it. And like, if I were to have a chance to talk to this team right now, I would ask everybody a simple question. Are you doing everything you can to make yourself the best to make this team better? And I would say be truthful to yourself. Look, don't lie. You got to be honest. And I promise you nobody can say yes.
Right.
Because you look at the damn production, you know somebody's slipping somewhere. You know, and I think that's the ultimate thing where you got to do whatever you can to find out how to get to your absolute best. That's dotting I's, crossing T's, lifting stones, figure out whatever the hell it is that's making you lack it. You know, I know guys say they watch film. Are you watching it enough? Are you intently watching you and seeing what you're giving off? We talk so much about watching film on other teams. How many of us are really watching on ourselves to see what damn keys are we giving to the other team? And that coaches can do that too.
Sure. It was honestly, that was a pretty rough episode of Hard Knocks between the ass kicking in Minnesota, Ertz getting hurt. It did sure seem in that Jaden was okay. And, perhaps DQ's comments, and we'll see if we actually get to hear from Jaden today. The NFL mandates that a quarterback talks to the media on Wednesdays. Last week it ended up being Mariota, but it was Mariota down in the locker room rather than a quarterback up at the podium. We'll see if it's Jaden today. We'll see if we get any information on that as the day continues. I did get to spend a little time with Jaden last night. He had a charity event at Union Station. Very cool. I want to talk about that. There's something specifically I want to point out.
I like that
about Jaden giving away the bikes to kids last night. It was very fun.